Yo, hey folks, it's Kevin, Big K Horror here, and I am going to do a review on my most absolute favorite, most classic slasher films out there from 1980, and I've loved this film since I was a little child, a little kid, getting into the horror genre, you know, from the way back years of the mom and pop video stores, the VHS era, and that is the film Prom Night. Now this is the DVD from, Alliance Atlantis Presents right here with a Photoshop clusterfuck cover of Jamie Lee Curtis's face from H2O. But anyway, boop. But we'll use this cover here. Now I have the original theatrical poster to the right of me or left of me right here on my walls. And my older some of my older videos, like from the summer of 2013, you can see it behind me on my walls here. I'm not going to move my camera because I don't feel like maneuvering it to where it's positioned right now again. But it's behind me. It's right here. But anyway, we'll use this right here for reference. And this is one of the other classic, VHS artworks for it. Jamie Lee Curtis with the axe and the bouquet of flowers. And this is one of my absolute favorite slasher films ever. And it's my most favorite film in the franchise. Now, I'm a fan of the other films as well. In the ranking order, you have this film, the first film. Then you have Part 2, Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night Part 2, and then my most favorite after that would be Part 4, Deliver Us from Evil, and then Part 3, The Last Kiss, and then the one I don't even want to mention, add to, acknowledge in the franchise, which would be the remake. It's like a Lifetime movie of the week. I don't even want to consider a Lifetime movie of the week, it's so bad. Anyway, but big fan of this film. So, this film is directed by Paul Lynch. It's part of the canon of popular Canadian slasher films from that time that were trying to popularize on the success of the American slasher films that were populated by Halloween and Friday the 13th and things from that time. This came out in 1980, and this, was a grand film. It's got a lot going for it, and it gets bashed quite a lot, but I think it's one of the standouts of that era. And it's underrated, very underrated, in my book. And, some of the great things about it, everything from the soundtrack. Now, let me just tell you right now, I'm not a fan of disco, other than, the 1979, in my opinion, Hallmark and underrated a Kiss vinyl album, Dynasty. I hate disco, but I love the soundtrack album to Prom Night. I think it's a great album by Paul Jaja. How you pronounce his name? I don't remember how to pronounce his name, but I believe it's Paul Zaza. And he did a great score and disco album for this. And I love the score and I love the disco songs in this film that were actually structured supposedly from other disco hits of that 70s era. And aside from the disco music from the film, I think it boasts one of the greatest chase scenes of the slasher era between the killer, who I'm not going to name in this film, and the character, the bitch of the film, Wendy, in her great red sequin dress. And just one of the greatest chase sequences, because she actually outruns the motherfucker. And man, can this killer, decked all out in black in a black turtleneck outfit and running with an axe, man, can he swing an axe like a pro. And I mean he hauls ass after her, and does she haul ass running for her life. And it's just a very harrowing scene. It's a very great chase, and it's a good bang for the buck, in a slasher film. And this movie was, there's a lot of slasher films that came out in this era between 1980 and 1984. There was a lot of sleazy ones that came out during that period, a lot of misogynistic ones, there was a lot of great ones, there was a lot of cheap ones, a lot of cheesy ones. You name it, it came out, it conquered, you know. But this was one of the better ones. And in my opinion, it's underrated. It gets bashed a lot because of Jamie Lee Curtis being in it. Not because of Jamie Lee Curtis, because, you know, she's A-list in a lot of ways. Because of her Hollywood status, but because she was in it in the disco and blah blah blah, and her dancing, whatever. That's what it gets remembered for. But people forget this was, for a slasher film of the time, this was like part of the beginning of the red herring era. People forget this was the beginning. You know, it had the red herrings. It was the precursor to what people remembered for, what jump-started the 1996 film Scream. Now, I just want to say something. When I was a big fan of, I became a big fan of Prom Night. By third grade, fourth grade, so 89, 90, 91. And so I know it's before 5th grade, which was 91, 92 for me. So by the time I was 15 years old, on December 20th, 96, December 20th, 1996, when Scream came out opening weekend. And I saw Scream opening weekend. I was already well influenced by horror films and slasher films by renting them every weekend on VHS. And you know, so I was already that Randy guy. I was already Randy. I was already knowing the rules of slasher films, and I was already that guy. And so hearing Prom Night referenced in the film about red herrings, and if they already would watch Prom Night, they'd save time. Hearing all that stuff, it was a geek-gasm. It was an orgasm for this horror geek right here. And I loved every fucking second of it. I just gotta throw that out there. But anyway, so moving on. Had it not been for Prom Night, a lot of this other stuff probably would not happen. Now, granted, slasher films from that time of late 70s, early 80s, American slasher films were a derivative of the late 60s, early 70s Italian giallo films and blah, 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 blah. You know, so, that's all argument and conjecture. But anyhow, so I'll just say Prom Night was, I think, a standout and underrated slasher film. But we all know the story. It all begins with a bunch of kids playing in old, run-down ruins of a school that we know, elementary school, high school, whatever. It's an old, run-down ruins of a school. And, these group of kids are playing, and this another group of kids who are two twins and their older sister show up. And one of the twins, who's the female, wants to kind of join in with the gang of kids playing. So she joins in, and the one twin and the older sister decide to go home. And while the one female twin is playing with these group of kids, she ends up dying. And 6 years later, I believe it's 6 years later, on the anniversary of that date of the girl's death, it's Prom Night, and all the kids that play that game that were responsible for that girl's death are being killed off one by one systematically by a mass killer. Is it the father who's responsible, played by Leslie Nielsen, who's the principal of the high school? Is it the mother who's traumatized and still grief-stricken by the loss of her daughter? Is it the sister, played by Jamie Lee Curtis? Is it the brother who's the DJ of the prom? Is it, Wendy, the bitchy fucking girl who's responsible for killing her, but she snapped? Who is it? It's just a fun whodunit. And it's the beginning of the red herring stage of the slasher that became popular, the slasher paradigm, that later was set up in the movie Scream in 1996. So anyway, so fans out there who became very big fans of horror films because of Scream, who never saw Prom Night, need to look past the disco dancing and the disco soundtrack of Prom Night, who never even probably sought it out before, because you're like, oh, disco, corny, bad. No, look past that. Prom Night is an expertly told movie, expertly directed film. It's very Hitchcockian in a lot of ways. I'm not saying it's like Hitchcock. I'm not saying Paul Lynch is Hitchcock. I'm not saying that. But it's, as a slasher film, as a derivative 80s slasher film, it is very Hitchcockian. That's all I'm saying. It's very expertly told. It's not derivative. It's a very well-told, established film. It's got a great score, great characters, great red herrings, everything. Right down to the very end. And, again, I'm a metalhead, man. I listen to everything from Motorhead, Motley Crue, Slayer, blah, 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 Megadeth. Metallica, and again, I don't do disco, but I love the soundtrack to this movie. But again, that could be my geek boy horror movie nostalgia that strives me to listen to the soundtrack to this movie. But anyway, all I gotta say is great characters. Everything from Jamie Lee Curtis to Leslie Nielsen as her dad as the principal of the high school, all the way down to the character of Wendy, the bitch. Now, I hate bitches and boys in horror films because you want them to die. But I'd say I love Wendy in this movie. I always have loved Wendy, all the way down to her fucking gorgeous red sequin dress and right down to her awesome fucking chase sequence, which is, to me, one of the best chase sequences. If you love a good fucking, either you want to use the adjective harrowing or, harrowing down to, squirm-inducing, whatever, chase sequence in a slasher film, boom, Prom Night's your answer right there. Good, fun film. Great, good whodunit. Scooby-Doo ending, whatever, with the mask, whoop, come right off, and you're like, oh, you're the one who did it, boom, Prom Night. Look no further. Now, the sequels are part 2 or 3 are supernatural, fun slasher kind of style, fun thrill, mid-80s, late 80s fun thrill rides. Part 4 is still like kind of supernatural slasher theme, but deals with like a deadly priest. But this is straight up in the wake of, Halloween. And the same with Prom Night. And the same with Friday the 13th, but made the same year as Friday the 13th. But anyway, I think this movie stands out as a gold gem. It, still gets a bad rep because of the disco era, but you know what? Look beyond that. Unless you're that superficial and shallow, look beyond that. Come on, y'all. Seriously. Good fucking movie. Seriously. And, you know what? Just pop it in one eye if you've never seen it. Give it a whirl. You may have some good fun with it, Great fucking killer. Knows how to fucking roll an axe. Knows how to fucking run after your ass. I don't know what I would do in a situation with him. I can tell you that right now. And great set of characters, great soundtrack. Boom. I'm sold. I love this film. Always have, always will. I'll take it to my grave. Alright, so that's my review of Prom Night. Peace out, y'all.